Hi, Steve.
How are you, brother?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's a sunny Southern California day.
Lovely. It's a cold, dark Cambridge evening here,
Right
but
on, man.
yeah, you're looking well.
Thank you. Feeling good.
Yes, good. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to Metal Talk tonight. It's much appreciated, and looking forward to chatting with you.
My pleasure.
So before we start, I just wanted to say, obviously we'll get on to Gash in a few moments.
Hmm.
But looking at your life, there seems to be your driving force is a real passion to create, and that sort of really struck me throughout your career. How do you feel about how your careers moved and changed and
Well,
just developed?
well, I feel blessed, really. I never expected to accomplish so much, because I've always just felt like a chaser of good
Right.
ideas, like
Yeah.
it I didn't realize it till way later, when people started asking me, like you're asking me, how is it you do so many diverse different things? And when I think about it, it's really that I don't. There's a part of me that's very uncomfortable with competing. You know what I mean? And having
Yeah.
to stack up in a certain chart number or
Mm.
this kind of thing. It's very weighing on an artist. Some people
Yeah.
thrive on it, but I just find it kind of like something I'm uncomfortable uh, doing. So as a result, I think what has happened is I just sort of surrendered to ideas that feel compelling to me. Like, well, you actually want to do this, so just do that. And that's really it. When I recorded all the projects that I've done, um, there was just a pull to do them. It's not uncommon. It's very. I think this is our natural state, actually, to find an interest in something and then just kind of throw yourself into it without any excuses or fears or anything like that. There's always the fear and the that, well, this can fail. I can fail. This might not fit in. How am I going to pay for all of the things that I need to do? Where am I going to find the right people? What if I waste my time? What if it's the wrong decision? So all of these things plague us,
Yeah.
and they get in the way of our natural instinct to navigate ourselves to those creative things that are personal to us and also very fulfilling.
Mm.
Because when I think about all the stuff I've done, it's just been very fulfilling. The Inviolate record that I released last year is just it's nice. It's just I love. I mean, every song on there I just did because something said, you do this now. And then the Gash record, the same thing happened to me with that record 32 years ago. I was doing a bunch of stuff and riding my motorcycles with my friends,
Yeah.
and something said, go in the studio right now and just blast out a bunch of tracks that sound like the way you feel when you're riding your bike with your
Right.
friends.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just go and do that. Yeah, but what about if I don't? Just go and do it. What? Well, I'm in the middle of it. Just go and do it. So you surrender to your creative instinct. And interestingly enough, I did that back then with the Gash record, and then he died.
Yeah.
So a part of me that might have been listening to a 62-year-old Steve Vai saying, no, no, just follow your instincts, might have said to him, well, there, I just spent, all this time and everything. And, my plans were foiled, you know,
Yeah.
but no,
Yeah.
because they're not foiled. They're just they have they have a little bit of a longer maturation period, like the Gash record. You know, it just, I think it's coming out at a perfect time, and people feel, some people are like, yeah, but if it would have came out back then, and I can only try to remember how I felt back then when the idea of releasing it back then was on the table, and it was an unequivocal no. You know, because it was the wrong timing. It was 92. Grunge had just decapitated the rock and roll, you know, atmosphere pretty much. I mean, you know, kind of 80s thing that the Gash record sounded like. And the record was just too precious to me, you know, and I know that sounds, you know, kind of cheeky and prima donna-ish, but it's true. I just felt this is just, you know what, you release product, you put the good fight in to get it out there, let people know it's there, compete with trying to get it, you know, and all this. And I just didn't want to do that with this project. It was just like, no, I'm not going to throw it to the wolves. It's a personal, private, loving, joyful thing that I did. And it was just kind of like, no. And, and as fate would have it, certain events transpired, and here it is. But really, it is, I never thought I'd accomplish so much. And especially at my age now, it's like everything is, for a guy like me, it's great. You know?
I'm sort of fascinated with, I say, with your journey, but you know, the whole thing with Gash. You know, how did you stumble upon Johnny actually being able to sing? You know, how did that sort of come around?
Yeah, so I had known Johnny for a long time, and he was just this. It's really hard to explain this guy, because it sounds, I feel like I'm trying to sell something again, and it's always uncomfortable for me to do that. But he was extraordinary just as a person. He was wild. I mean, he was an East Coast, New York, Italian, hardcore biker, you know, and the biggest heart, I mean, the biggest heart and the most insane intentions, you know. I mean, he was funny. He was unbelievably charismatic, totally unpredictable. Like, you just never knew what he was going to do, and you better be ready. And unbelievably commanding. It's the story where when that guy's in the room, he owns the room. He didn't even have to try. He didn't have to try. He was just it. And sometimes a real pain in the ass, you know, so wild and crazy, but just endearing and lovable and so committed. So he would sing, but he would sing crooner style. And he showed me some videos, well, one video in particular that he made for his dad, singing a Frank Sinatra song, because he had this, he could sound like Frank Sinatra. It's uncanny. One of those kinds of things.
Wow.
And, you know, we were riding and having a great time. And I blasted out this record. And when I was finished, I needed vocals. And remember, I was just doing it for us. So I first, in a fit of desperation, I put the vocals on it. And it was a couple of songs, and it was an abysmal disaster, because I don't have that rock and roll voice, and I can't fake it. You know what I mean? I've got I love my voice, but it's very limited, and it's only good for a certain kind of thing, you know. But Gash had that rock and roll voice. So I would, you know, you can hear when people are speaking, or if they scream or something, if there's a tonal quality there. And my ear was recognizing something in just when he would yell, or if he'd throw out a Led Zeppelin, you know, "Ooh, yeah," or something. And I'm like, what is that? And I said, okay, come with me. And I put him in the studio. He never sang rock and roll. And I just told him, okay, sing these words, sing this melody, and be you. And I got to tell you, Paul, I just was stunned at what was coming out of his mouth. And and it went so quick, and he just nailed it. So authentic and committed.
Yeah.
Very honest, and that's him. I'm listen. I go, how is he doing? And it's all him. He had this sense of humor. He was very playful, sort of. He'd take the piss constantly, and you could hear it.
Yeah.
Take these like serious lines and throw them away as if they're, and I just love that because he didn't take himself seriously. And when we were done, what I was thinking was, I mean, there was so much raw talent there that, I wanted to, go back, fix a few things, nurture. I'm a great teacher, I'm a really good producer for vocalists and a teacher, a musical teacher kind of thing, and I just saw the potential in him to do incredibly extraordinary things, because I'm telling you, we hardly scratched the surface. It was like, okay, sing. Wow. Okay. Next, or I help him phrase something or whatever. And there's loose ends. There's so many loose ends on the record because there were demos, and I thought that so I would tweak them a bit and whatever. But then finally, when Johnny died, it was just one of those things. Okay, this is done, and I put it on the shelf for 32 years. And I listened to this record so many times because there was something in it that I just loved. It captured, for me, my youthful love of rock, just straight ahead rock, just good melody, uplifting, energetic, not serious. There's no wanky guitar stuff. I don't want any of that. Like if you listen to like a lot of the stuff I've done with some of the rock bands from the past, there's, I'm navigating the vocals and I'm doing all this. I like my guitar parts to be wide open.
Yeah.
This record, it's all about Gash. It's about the vocals. It's not about Steve Vai, and that's what I wanted. And I just didn't want to clutter it with anything. And I love the way it came out. And finally, I thought I have to release this one day. And I kept thinking, yeah, but I got to tweak it and I got to fix this and I got to do that. And just, and then I just said, no. I took the tapes directly from the vault where they were sitting on the shelf for all those years. And first we had to bake them, because that whole story. And then I sent them right to Mike Frazier, who mixed it. There was only one thing on the entire record that I fixed, that I changed. And that's the first chorus in Flowers of Fire. Da, 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 da. He sang it better in the second verse.
Right.
So I just digitized that one area, took the second verse, put it in the second chorus, put it in the first. But that is it on the whole record, which is tremendously unlike me.
Yeah. But it's a tremendously sort of, live sounding record, natural sounding. And I think, Johnny had it. To me, had as you say, he's had a raw rock and roll voice, but there was a soulfulness in it as well. And I think it works really well with the material. How do you feel he would have, say if you had released the album then and it would have, blown up massively, how do you think he'd have, reacted with everything? Do you think he'd have been able to, go along with it more? Would he have wanted to go along with it more to see where it went? Or,
well, we never know these things, but I had some experience at that point, and I knew what heavy exposure and instant recognition, in a particular genre, what it's like, what it does to people. I've seen it, and Johnny, he would have navigated it because I was there with him.
Yeah.
I know that sounds weird, but he trusted me. He loved me. He really did, and
Yeah.
vice versa. But he really trusted me. I was his, you know, I would have let him run absolutely wild
Yeah.
within reason
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
he was so unpredictable. He would do the most insane things. You look at the back of the album cover, the CD, and there's a picture of him riding his bike. He's sitting on the back seat, turned around, flipping the bird. And that was like normal for him, you know, like we'd be standing there and he'd be riding by, standing on the seat in an iron cross. And and other crazy things he would do. He was a daredevil. And it finally killed him. He was in various accidents. I mean, he was a great driver within reason, but he wasn't within reason. He was crazy. So how he would have navigated if the hypothetical scenario of this record being released back then and people getting him, he would have made, I know this, I just feel it with every fiber of my being, he would have made an incredible rock star. Because I know I worked with these guys.
Yeah.
And I know that, there's a big difference between a great singer and a rock star that can stand in front of an audience and authentically take control in an engaging, charismatic, ownership kind of a way. I've been on the stage with people who can do that. I've been on the stage with people who could do that and can't sing great. People who can do it and can sing great, and people who can sing great and can't do it.
Yeah.
And it's very rare to find both of those qualities. And he had that, and he would have loved the fame because he thrived on attention. All the rock star DNA shit was all in there.
Yeah.
And I can I'm an authority at recognizing it in a singer. So I've had so much experience with it.
Yeah.
But on another level, on a more realistic level, which is the way this is happening, I think it's kind of nice that people have an opportunity. I mean, those that are into this record and this kind of thing, they have an opportunity to create a fantasy alternate reality, kind of alternate universe. That's what I do. When I listen to this record, I see Gash, I see Johnny Gash on that stage, in that arena, commanding. I know every move he would do. I just know it. I knew him so well. I know that audience so well. I know these songs and how people react live to songs like this. And he would have been a commanding presence, I'm sure of that. But now you can now he can definitely be one.
Yeah.
Because you can create, and that's what I do. I'm living. Okay, so if I'm laying in bed and I'm remembering my past with Dave Roth, where I'm on that stage, or Whitesnake, or something like that, that's a memory, right?
Yeah.
I can create a fake memory, so to speak, an alternate universe of a life that happened to me right around Dave Roth period, where Johnny Gash was the singer and we did this stuff and we went out and it blew up and it was all that fun stuff because I've been through it,
Yeah.
So I like to think that, and then it's nice that I could have that fantasy and also Passion and Warfare and the Ultra Zone and In Violet and all. I live a charmed life.
Yeah. It's wonderful how the love you have for Johnny, just comes out just talking to you, and it's it's so nice. Would you consider doing any of the songs from Gash live now, or would it be difficult to do it without that presence of him singing them?
Well, it's like trying to replace Devin Townsend or something. You can't do it. So I'm going out on tour next month for the rest of my In Violet tour.
Yeah.
And based on the success of how this record turns out, the Gash record, because so far it's like it's shocking me. It's really, I mean, it's number 4 at rock radio. How does that happen? It's never happened to me in my life, you know. And the response is such a surprise and delight. I mean, you just never know, you know. There's so many things that I've released where I've thought, oh man, my fans are really gonna like this. They're really gonna love this. I can't wait for them to hear it. And then they're just like, you know. So I give up trying to second guess the fans completely. And but if there's enough of a demand, I thought it might be nice if I could work a couple of songs in, because they're so short and they're so, you know, rock and roll during the show. But the big challenge is who's going to sing it? Not me, brother.
Yeah.
So I got a couple of guys in the band that are honing their singing chops. And if there's any songs that the audience can help out with, you know?
Yeah.
But there's no Gash in the picture, brother.
Yeah. I think it's a great tribute to the man, and it is a wonderful thing to have out, and it's great that it's out there now. For you, we've touched upon your creativity, and I think, as I said, you've got such a creative spirit that from the early days, from when you started playing, from the very first time you hit a note on a piano, wasn't it? And then the following year, guitar, and you just knew. And there's a wonderful quote that's attributed to you: the creation of music is an infinite personal expression. I realized I could do this. I could make music and it could be whatever I want. And that's just a fantastic thing. And you've shown throughout your career, it's amazing to think Flexible's, 39 years old now, and that's, I don't want to age, anyone, but that's pretty mind blowing, isn't it? And all the stuff you've done since then, and you work with Zappa, with Dave Lee Roth, with Alcatraz, who I'm actually seeing on Saturday. I'm going to chat to the guys there on Saturday.
Oh, so wonderful! Give them my love.
Be nice. I will do. Yeah. But you say I've always, you mentioned it earlier on, I've always seen you as someone who is an innovator, really. And I think, I draw a parallel between yourself and Jeff Beck, the late, great Jeff Beck. And I know you were partly influenced by Jeff in the early part of your career, weren't you? But I feel, you've got that same, unique style that is just leading the way. And I've spoken to several of my friends who are guitarists, and they just say, you just create these amazing pieces.
Well, that's touching and it's inspiring. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I never thought my name would be mentioned in the same sentence with someone like Jeff Beck, and he was inspirational to me through my whole career. More heavily in the beginning, obviously, but yeah, I think that through my whole career, it seems simple, only do what you feel good doing, and the rest will take care of itself, because when I think, people say, well, how did you have all these successes? And I think when I try to put my finger on it, when I look back through my career, the most important thing to me, of paramount importance, and there was a lot of things there are a lot of things that are important in an artist's career, how you're going to balance your books, how you're going to move around and who you're going to work with and how you're going to afford it. All these things are very important, but they are of relative importance. They're not of vital importance. They're important, but they're not the thing that's of vital importance. And that thing that is of vital importance, when I recognize, for me, and I didn't know this was happening from the very beginning, it was what you had mentioned, that idea. I realized the creation of music is infinite. No, anybody that would argue with that is saying that the universe is limited.
Yeah, yeah,
So, and knowing that I'm here, I'm just one little individual, but I have the choices there. You can tell that you're the one sailing the ship because you're the one thinking your thoughts, nobody else.
yeah, yeah,
So who has control over those thoughts? Nobody but you. You make your own reality. You make your own life situation.
yeah,
And my life situation, basically, the situation I was making was, I love this. I really like this.
yeah,
I
yeah,
I love when I can't do something and I see myself doing, and then all of a sudden it starts to happen. That's the dope, that's like the real payoff, because it that turns into passion. The
yeah,
evolution of enthusiasm is passion, you know, and um all of the things that look like success came as a consequence of that, of my, because like with okay, so with Zappa, I didn't ask Frank to be in the band. You don't do that,
yeah, yeah,
he asked me because of my love of the instrument and to play the kind of things that he was writing,
yeah, yeah,
then, with Crossroads, that they called me. I turned
yeah,
down being the character in the movie once, and then they asked again, and why? Because I had something here that was a result of that little passion. So you can find that at the foundation of everything. And here's the thing: everybody's is do well, maybe not everybody, but a lot of people are doing this. It's as simple as this. If if you're fortunate enough to find something that of great interest to you when you're young, and you focus on it and you just don't let up, you will innovate. Everybody, anybody. You're a
yeah,
writer. You're a writer. There was a point in your life, I would assume, where you felt, I got this. I know how to do this. I know how to write. I know how to communicate, and if you stick with it and you have um, a passionate spirit for it, you're going to evolve.
yeah.
You will innovate. That's how it happens. People who have passion or are in a state of passion with their interests must innovate.
Mm.
It happens automatically and unconsciously.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
for someone like me, like the gem guitar, I was totally unconscious, It was just so simple. I did it. I said, I want
yeah,
this, I want this. I don't care who's nobody's going to be interested. I don't care. I know what I want. I want this, this,
yeah,
this.
yeah,
Poof, so the moral of the story, I guess, is it's okay to throw yourself into the things that are interesting to you.
yeah,
That's really it. And don't let up. You
yeah,
won't want to. When you realize your own freedom, there's no letting up.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I guess
Well,
yeah, similar to yourself. I think with my writing, I'm always trying to make it better. I'm always trying to
yeah,
improve. I never just sit on my laurels and think, yeah, that piece was great. It's always, right, okay, what's the next challenge, and what's the next thing? And I get that very much from you. I think
yeah.
for me,
The
yeah,
same mechanism is in place in me.
yeah, yeah. Talking to my friends, and this really struck me again. I think the thing you're most influential in, as far as talking to my friends, I've spoken to my friend James, my friend Tally, my friend Fern. As far as your guitar work, you have encouraged people with their own self-expression. They've listened to you, and that's been their inspiration. Your ability to make people think, yeah, do you know what, I can do that. You and Jeff. So it's a great, it's a constantly giving thing.
Yeah, it's. I know how important it was for me when people I looked up to uh, inspired me and encouraged me. That's
Yeah,
really important to do. There's always people that have mature skills and insights that are pulling you up, and you're always pulling somebody else up. Because there's the levels of people's state of accomplishment or skill. It varies tremendously, and everybody falls someplace in there, and you're always inspiring those that haven't quite reached that yet, and you're always being inspired by those that, you know. And I have just so much faith in people who find the thing that they love doing. And my message is basically to them: you're not going to be happy any other way, and and you're allowed to. You're allowed to do what you want. How do you like that? You know, you don't need to become a victim of your own ego, which is usually in fear about the future.
Yeah.
You know, that's true. You only ever feel fear when your thoughts are focused on some fantasy future event that the ego loves to stress over, that you don't have coping mechanisms to deal with because they're fantasies.
Yeah.
And that creates stress, and that blocks your natural, unique, and instinctual creative flows. And for you, that's, you know, you said it. I mean, you nailed it. I still want to improve myself. Why? Because it's fun, you know. I mean, it's good. It's the same mechanism is in place in me. And you know, one of my goals is to just let people know that that same mechanism is in place for them. They're worthy of it. And not only that, we need it. We need people's free-flowing, uniquely creative expressions to flow into the world, because we can't do anything without each other's contribution. You can't do anything. I can't. My records are going to sit on the shelf until you review them, or you do this. You know what I'm saying? We're working together. The world says, "Oh yeah, but you're Steve Vai," and you get no fucking way. In reality, we're a team. We all are, because I need listeners, and I'm a service provider. You know, I provide entertainment. That's I don't know. I didn't. You know, I don't know why. It just happened that way.
Yeah. It's funny because I know we're running out of time, but I just want to say, I saw you at the Palladium, London Palladium last year, and it's a great show. You're having such a great time on stage. And from what you just said about, you know, everyone working together, I know you're an ape purist, aren't you? And you've got and my father has kept bees, you know, since I was tiny. And it's interesting how they work together, and it's that great, you know, bit from nature, isn't it? You seem a very spiritual guy, very sort of rooted into the whole you know, the whole universe and everything. And you know, it's a fascinating thing that you're on stage doing these big rock shows, and then you're at home in Encino tending your bees and everything. But just sort of going back to the whole thing, you know, with the way the bees work and the way that, you know, that symbiotic relationship. I just wondering, you know, for you, you know, being your own man, is it easy to work with other people? You know, when you're working in a band, like when you're with Zappa, when you're with Whitesnake, when you're with Dave Lee Roth and Alcatraz, or is the freedom of actually doing what you want when you want with your own material a more natural thing for you?
Well, it's based on what the expectations are for the project. So if I go into Pill with John Lydon, you know, I contributed to that record. I'm not going in there telling them how I think the songs should be structured or making contributions on the way the drums sound or anything. No, my role, my expectation was to go in there and lay the guitars down. So I accept that, you know, and my parameters then go there. And within this, I'm expected to be Steve Vai, you know what I mean? With my fingers on the guitar, but not picking the songs or anything like that.
Yeah.
Now, when I'm with someone like Dave Roth or Alcatraz, it was more of a band. So I knew that, and I went into it. So that was my choice, to go into it knowing this is a co-collaborative effort.
Yeah.
And that it's a committee of many people. Every note you want to play or record, in a sense, because there's producers, there's record companies, there's band leaders, there's other band members. And I like that. I can very much enjoy that environment. When you're with other creative people, it's fantastic. And yeah, you gotta work things out sometimes. And, you know, like when I was in Alcatraz, I was a bit of a pain in the ass, you know, because I wanted things a certain way, you know, and it was a learning experience for me of the, you know, of what a band is, which is the unconditional acceptance of everybody else's contribution and then making it work. So I'm very good when I know what's expected of me. But for something like my solo work, my goal is to create a catalog of music that's undiluted by anybody else's contribution. So like when I did the Gash record, it was a committee of one. I walked into the studio, I engineered it, I produced, I laid down a click track, improvised the bass parts, and nobody was there to tell me anything. And then I put the guitars down on my own, you know, so I can also do that and enjoy that. You know, but then when I don't know what when Polyphia calls and says, "Hey, you want to do this solo?" Well, then I'm gonna look at it like this and say, "Okay, how can you be the best you can be within these parameters?"
Absolutely. But thank you so much for your time, Steve. Really, really appreciate it. The Gash album is a great album. I really genuinely loved it. I did the review of it, and yeah, it was, you know, really.
Thank you so much.
Such a great album, and a genuine, loving and wonderful tribute to Gash's life, his ability, and that talent that he had. But yeah, best of luck with, you know, best of luck with the rest of the tour. Hopefully see you over here again at some point in the not too distant future. It'd be great to see you.
I think I'm doing a master class in Guildford at some point
cool.
in May.
Excellent. Eric Clapton's hometown.
Oh, maybe we'll come and jam.
Always.
Thank you so much, Paul.
Thank you, Steve.
All right, brother. Bye-bye.
God bless you. Bye-bye.